Hi, good evening. Welcome to an MUWSC podcast. Don't worry, we're not back in lockdown. We haven't done one of these for such a long time. We thought in such a historic week, we should actually do something. Tonight, as you can see, I'm joined by Shane, Andy, and Zoe. You all okay?
All good, thank you.
Yep.
Good. Hopefully, you all know who they are. Zoe writes millions and millions of articles about the Man United women's team. Andy is the editor of the first ever women's fanzine, the Barmy Article, and Shane is our resident Mr. Stato. We are going to talk about the cup final, but I think it would be remiss of us if we didn't really talk about the season so far because it's like apples and oranges from last season. Andy, I'm going to start with you. During the close season, there was obviously a lot of hysteria about bringing in players and not bringing in certain other players. Could you have foreseen that from where we were then to where we are now?
I think the level that we've reached was difficult to foresee, but if you looked objectively at the transfer window, it addressed all the right things. We brought players in who added experience, which is what we sorely missed. We brought young players in, young, exciting attacking players. We boosted the front line a lot. You could say it's by too many numbers. You could say we ended up a little bit top heavy, but then with Mayer becoming a centre half and not a full back that she'd been before, then we ended up having two centre half pairings at the back as well. So we added depth where it was needed. We added experience and we added youth, and we're building for the future as well with Clinton being bought to go out on loan and win a championship, along with our other young players that have gone out on loan as well. So we've built for now, we're building for the future, and all the key areas were addressed. Now, to the level it's got us, it's 3 games left in all competitions and on course for a possible double. I don't think you could have possibly foreseen that kind of step.
Yeah, Zoe, I'm going to come to you next. I'm just going to get through all the hellos. Evening, Mike. Evening, Charlie. Evening, Ref. Evening, John. Evening, Aoife. Evening, Shepherd Towers. Evening, Deb. Said hello to Ref. I'm not saying hello to again. Andy, just before we do, congratulations on making it double figures for Barmy Article. We will come back to that a little bit later on. And evening, Nathan. Zoe, last season we finished just outside of the top 3. Again, could you still see that to where we currently are now?
No, obviously, the whole aim was to always, crack that top 3. So we obviously hoped that would happen. But as Andy said, to be sat where we are, top of the league and to have sustained it as well, because we've been top of the league before, I think in Casey's last season around Christmas time, and then we struggled again with injuries and stuff and not having the strength and depth that we needed. So, I think even when we started off well this season, I don't think we could always quite believe that it was going to last. And then, it obviously Chelsea have got games in hand and whatnot, and it might not end like it is right now, but it's just been a fantastic season to watch. It's just been so exciting, the way, the style of football that they've been playing, the belief from all the players that they have that extra gear within them, so that in the past when we've gone behind in games, it's felt like it's game over. Whereas this season, they've got the belief and we've got the belief that actually they've got something else in the locker that they can pull out and go on to win the game. And I just don't think, I didn't foresee us being in this position and going on the cup run that we have, getting to the final. And it's just fantastic. And touching on, our signings, I think at the start of the season, there was a few where people were like, why have we made that signing? And, Rachel Williams is a prime example that, people were a bit confused by that, but she's come on and made a difference in so many games and just been that extra boost that the team needed. And it's fantastic to see. And I don't think any of us could afford to see that.
Shane, obviously, we let players go, as Zoe said in the summer, and we brought in some very good players. Some probably have exceeded our expectations. You and I were part of a lucky few to be out in Toulouse. Did you see that going to where we are now, or were you like, where we are is quite good?
Good question. I think it was positive, right, in Toulouse. I know it was only 2 games, won one and then lost the final, if we want to call it that, of that mini tournament that we played. But, the pre-season's not about, let's go and win that tournament. You've got to get minutes into players, see what different combinations you can try and formations and tactics, all of that. But I was pleasantly surprised by what I saw out there. There was intent, there was an attacking threat with us. I think we all commented at the time on Lucia when she came on, the impact she had, particularly in that first game against, I want to say it was PSG, wasn't it? We all sort of went down at the end and said to the boss, wow, what a player. I think his response at the time was, that's why we've bought her. You're going to be excited by her. And he wasn't lying. It was what we've seen from her. Arguably, we could have seen more of her up to this point. But what she has done on the pitch, I think, has delivered on that promise that he made us, if you want to call it that, in the summer.
And obviously, we started off against Reading. Maya scored on a debut. And we've kind of never really looked back from that point. But there are certain games, I think, as fans, we all talk about all the time. And John put it in the comments earlier on. And he says the season for him kick-started off at the Emirates. Now, I agree with him on that completely. I think that was a season-defining win for us. But we were all there. What were your memories of that, Andy?
I think for us, it showed us the mentality. I mean, you would hope and you would think that doesn't happen if the mentality wasn't already there with the players, if that belief hadn't already been instilled in them. But it certainly showed us that we've arrived. We're not knocking on the door of the top 3 now. We are in the mix. And, you look at a season and you're going through a season and you think, we're doing great. There's a long way to go, but we're doing great. And it's always a case of, it's great to still be in the conversation at this point. But we're 2 games from the end and we're still in the conversation. And it all comes down, as a fan, to the visible mentality shift at that game. That was we can beat the best and we can do it in their own backyard, but not just their own backyard, their own big backyard. What was the 40,000 there? A full away end. And the away end was a big focus at that game as well, with not getting it. And then Ian Wright speaks up and probably regrets it after the result. But away ends became a big thing, a bigger conversation at that point. It seemed to kickstart a lot of things that certainly United fans and the supporters club have pushed for off the pitch. But on the pitch, it was a real growth moment for our team.
Zoe, I want to come to you about this point that Charlie made, where she believes that Marc and the coaching staff have improved a number of players. Do you agree with that?
I do, yeah. There's certain players as well that I think in previous seasons have got a lot of stick, and even to an extent this season, we drive. We always demand more kind of thing. I think even players like Katie Zellum, who often divides opinion, I just think this season especially, she's up to game. She's gone up a level, and I think we are seeing the best out of her at the moment. The vision going forwards as well recently. Those 2 assists recently that she got. I think she's playing her best football for starters. And then, this morning I was writing an article about Honor and just what a player. When you sort of go through the stats, Shane will be able to comment on this better, but when you go through it and you play back some of those games, you think, I can't name a better fullback right now in the world. But I mean, obviously I'm biased, but again, we're seeing the best out of her. There's been a lot of talk about Hannah Blundell this season as well, particularly in the last couple of months. And it's just a joy to watch. I mean, stood on the terraces at last weekend watching them at Tottenham. I was just in awe of them, in amazement at some of the attacks that we were coming up with in the second half that didn't necessarily lead to a goal, but it was just exciting to watch. And that's what this season has been. It's just been exhilarating, and that's because they're all performing at the best. And as you say, some of these players we've watched for 5 years now, but you know, this season is different, and I do think it has to be because the coaching staff are doing an excellent job with them, and they're together as a team. They're not individuals, and it's just brilliant.
Shane, Sporty has put in the comments the Arsenal, Reading, and Villa away games, the games we would have lost or drawn last year. Now, I probably would agree with that. Do you completely see a shift in the mentality for us this season?
Yeah, and you know, the Emirates game's the talk of the town, isn't it? So that, for me, as you said, was a big season-defining moment. And you know, 2-1 down, and I think as players, I think even Katie Zellin may have done an interview and mentioned this this week, even where the mentality shift with the players is evident, and that they're going into these games not thinking, oh, we might have a chance of winning it. They're thinking, no, we can win, we will win. And the Emirates game was a complete evidence of that, I think, where, you know, we're 2-1 down, we've got 5 minutes left to go, normal time, and we flicked a switch. We just peppered them. We got the equaliser, and I don't know how many people I turned around and said it to at the time, but I was just like, we're winning this. We were relentless, and you know, we got the winner we deserved in that game. Reading as well. You know, we were on top. It wasn't the prettiest of games, I think we'd all agree, but you know, what are United known for? Lots of late winners, and we've been treated to a few this season, that's for sure.
I said after that game, I said about the Arsenal game, I said that's the closest you're going to get to the men's away end, number one. Number two, also to a perfect Man United display. Better than the opposition. Deservedly go a goal up. They score a stupid equaliser, then they go 2-1 up. And then from there, we just peppered them. And I mean, I remember the aftermath, and it was absolutely. I mean, we were still in there for a good half an hour after the game. There was another game in there, though, Shane, and I don't want to talk about what happened at the game. I want to talk about at the game, not about what happened before the game, was Leicester. Because Marc Skinner even said after that game, that's a game we would have lost last season. So this season, in our mentality, we've had a mentality shift. We brought in some good players and we've made them better, and we've had some good players of our own. We've pushed them on. When you look at the squad from last season to this season, where do you see the difference?
Less injuries is probably the easiest answer. Even go back 2 seasons in the lockdown one, where we probably again were a bit top heavy, but almost every forward that we had was out with an injury towards the closing parts of that season, and obviously we dropped off. Whether there was other factors in that or not, we'll probably never know, but it was a factor. Then last season, of course, defensively, we were slaughtered with injuries, where even the signings we made in January as backup, you know, as the just in case we're getting injured. And I always point to the West Ham game where we had, I think it was Thorstadter and Zellum as centre backs, which on paper you look at and go, what? But it was necessary at the time. So injuries is definitely, or lack of injuries is definitely a factor this season, I think. There seems to be maybe a lot more togetherness with the team, which there were always a together squad. It was one of the things I think Casey was always quite keen to impose. You know, you had to be the right person, not just the right player. You had to fit in with what the squad already had, kind of thing. And I think Marc's elevated that. You know, maybe some recruitment hasn't worked out how they wanted to, but in the majority, you they're a very tight knit group. They all look out for each other. The signings this season, I think it was Nikita Paris that came in and said, one training session, even England camps where there's been United players involved, she can see the togetherness of them, real team spirit. They all look out for each other, and I think that's important, and that is probably one of the most important things this season that's helped us get to where we are.
Andy, Villa away. We were all there. It was a Fergie time winner, which we all love. But at 2-2, would you have taken a 2-2 draw at that point? Or were you still confident we would have gone on and beaten them?
I think at that point, if we don't win that game, we're in a top 3 battle. We win that game, we're potentially in a title battle. So I don't think it's a case of whether you're confident enough. It's a case of which one do you want? Do you want to be in a title battle? Do you want to be in a top 3 fight? By being in a title challenge, you're automatically in a top 3 battle. So I would say, no, I wouldn't have taken 2-2. I would have said, if we don't win, that's one potential box that we can't tick. If we lose, we're still in a top 3 fight. So my mindset was, it's the difference between a top 1 fight and a top 3 fight. So you might as well gamble and go for it. And I think that was probably a game where at times in the game it felt like your luck was running out. It wasn't going to come this time. We'd invited the jeopardy one time too many. And then the players thought different. They said, nope, not done yet. Get Zellerman to a free kick. Get Millie Turner in the middle. On the noggin. Winner, Marc Skinner. Crack on. It was, even when the mentality looked like it wasn't going to pull us through, it did. And it was just pure elation once again.
Yeah. If anyone really cares to know, Chelsea are 4-0 up already at half-time. So that's the last we're going to mention of that. So the goal difference is going to be now Shane, 2. Zoe, Brighton home. We're going to now come on to the FA Cup. Brighton at home, FA Cup semi-final. What were your feelings going into that game?
I mean, there was a little bit of nerves. There always is, I think. I think that's just football. I've just come to accept that I'm always going to be nervous. But I remember we were sort of sat in the Wren beforehand and some Brighton fans walked past and they were like, we just hope it's not 4-0. And I was like, yeah, beaten 4-0 twice this season, we're going to be fine. So what actually happened was kind of a surprise. And at the same time, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way because, that elation at the end, I felt like I'd done 90 minutes on the pitch with them as well. Like I was exhausted, but in the best possible way. It was just incredible that we'd pulled it off in a way, which, yeah, it should have been on paper. It should have been much easier for ourselves. But that's proper football. Anything can happen, and it did. And at the same time, we dug deep. Rachel Williams popped up, of course, and secured the victory for us. And I think you need those victories as well. I like to think you do. I think it brings the team even more together. Knowing that they had to really fight for it, and hopefully gives them confidence that they can make mistakes, but they can also go on to rectify them.
Shane, you and I obviously were around the Brighton game. We were putting up the flags. Did you notice anything different around the ground that day?
Yeah, my nerves were through the roof. You see me in the tunnel. I think someone had to give me a paper bag to breathe into. I'd have probably took them up on it. No, there was an obvious difference, which you'd probably expect. It's an FA Cup semi-final. It's a big game. It's not the first semi-final we've had, but the FA Cup's a completely different competition to the Conti. You know, the name of the competition alone carries its history, doesn't it? So there was a buzz there. I guess there was confidence, maybe steering into a bit of overconfidence from some of us because of, you know, we played Brighton twice this season in the league and we beat them 4-0 both times. The away game being the immediate game before that semi-final as well. So, you know, there was a confidence there. I think my nerves stemmed more from the fact that if we don't win it, it's almost worse because you don't want to, you know, we're that close to a Wembley Cup final, and it'd be such a shame the way the season's gone to not throw it away, but, you know, to not get there and almost not get over that semi-final hurdle that we've struggled with in the past, I guess. So, yeah, it was different, and it was nice to experience that at home. I think you know, we love away games, but I think that it was extra special that it was that game and the result, the way we won it, it was at home. Yeah.
Andy, Charlie's put a question in, and I'm going to give it to you. If the team don't win a trophy this season, should we be disappointed, or do you think the season should be viewed as a success regardless?
Because of how the season's gone, we will be disappointed if we don't win a trophy. But that's a good thing. I think just getting in the top 3 is a successful season. But you don't want to confirm top 3 and be miles away from first. You're happy with third as a step taken forward. But the way the season's gone, I'll be disappointed if we don't win a trophy. And it's not like any trophy is a given. You know, we're playing a team in the cup final that we've never beat. The title is in Chelsea's hands, especially now with the goal difference almost wiped out. They can afford a draw in the running now. So, you know, even though we're so close, we're not that close. It's not like we'll have bottled it if we don't win a trophy. It's not, even now, it's not fully expected. But I will still be disappointed because we've shown that we are good enough. And based on the level we have now reached, I'll be disappointed every time we exit a competition. I mean, I've been disappointed before, but it's the League Cup. It's not a priority. It's the Cup. We'd rather get top 3. But we are at a level now, and we've finally got what we've always talked about. We have got a Champions League draw for a better class of player. So going forward, I'll be disappointed every time there's a trophy that we fail to win. But not in a sense where I'll see it as an absolute failure. It's just that, you know, we've had plenty bad nights as United fans over the years. You know, Fergie teams going out to Swindon, for example. It happens. But I think we're at a level where every cup that we miss out on will be a disappointment because with that we are now good enough, and it's a case of staying good enough.
So, Brighton for you, Andy, what were you feeling before the game? Obviously, you've been to cup finals following the men's team. Did you have the same nerves before this game?
Before it, while I wasn't naive enough to bet my house on another 4-0 win, I expected it to be relatively comfortable. And the way it went made it more exciting and more enjoyable overall. During the game, the nerves came because you realised we're in this. We're in a fight here. We're not walking this. And when you look back at, I know there's stats and there's watching the game yourself, but the stats suggest it wasn't as close as the game felt. I think they only had the 2 shots that they scored from. I think stats wise, I think we battered them, but it felt tense, and it was enjoyable. But yeah, the game itself caused nerves, but the kind of nerves that when you believe your team can do it, they're the kind of nerves that are very closely linked with excitement. You know, I did a poll before, which match was it? I think it was the Arsenal match. Or in general, before any big match, do you feel nervous or do you feel excited? And it was 50-50. And I think they're the same thing. It's just your own perception that decides which label to give the feelings. And it was definitely a mix of both the excitement and the nerves because of the situation rather than the team we were playing against.
Zoe, we can't really talk about the Brighton game without talking about Rachel Williams. As you said, she might have come in the summer, and Andy, you also put some feelings out over the summer. But the impact she's had on the team and the squad, were you expecting her to be doing what she's doing, Zoe?
Definitely not. No. And that's it's brilliant to watch. The first few games where she came on as a sub, I was just like, she's like an excitable puppy. She just runs round, but gets the job done. It puts pressure on people, snatches every ball that's just a few inches in front of the opposition player, and it's really surprised me that she just comes on with that energy and that just hunger for goals and to get other teammates on the ball and to win it back. And yeah, I really never expected it. And for me, she's been one of our best players this season. I don't know if you can say that in terms of how many minutes she's played compared to others, but there's so many instances like you say, we're talking about her. She's made the difference and in that semi-final. And there's just so many occasions where you can highlight her super sub performances, really. And yeah, as I say, it's just been a joy to watch and a real surprise, I think, to all of us.
Andy, over the summer when we were first rumoured to be getting Rachel Williams, you made your feelings known that if she was the only signing, you have a right to be upset. But we also brought in some very other good players. What do you see the impact of Rachel being?
I think my view before the season started was she's not even here to score goals. She's here to come on when we're winning and we need a cool head. But then she scored that 5th goal at Old Trafford in the first Old Trafford game. Was that a first goal she scored for us? I think that might have been the first one she scored for us. And it was like she didn't know how to react. I think she felt it was too easy and didn't know what to do. But at that point, you think, good for her, almost in a condescending way. And then she's shown us that in a situation where we need to score, you're saying, we need Williams on. Get Williams on. Don't wait till the last 10 minutes. Give her 20 minutes. Let her score. Get her on. We need a goal scorer. And, she's far and away got the best minutes per goal ratio in the team because she doesn't come on for very long, but she still gets there and gets the goals and the important goals. And it's, I didn't know at the time. I didn't know much about her when she signed, but it's not something new. She's got form. 10 years ago, she scored a last-minute equaliser against Chelsea in a cup final that kept Birmingham in it, and they went on to win on penalties. She missed the penalty in the shootout, but she was there with the last-minute equaliser to keep her team in a big game. So it's nothing new. She's got the experience. She's got 10 years experience on top of that now. She's doing it in a red shirt, and yeah, she's shown that you don't need to be a big star to have a big impact. And you can tell she's down to earth, which is great for the squad. It's great for the younger players. And she's shown us all that she's exceeded even my optimistic expectations of she'll keep us calm. She'll help us keep a 1-0 lead. But now she's taking us from draws to wins.
So was it when she came on in the Brighton game, were you still going to, were you saying she's going to score the winner here? I've got every faith in her.
When she comes on, it gives you a sense of we're having it, and even if we don't have it, it won't be because we haven't tried. Because she's non-stop, she is relentless, and she, like Zoe said, she's excitable, and I think she's got a mix of excitable and calm. You get the feeling. I think I said this on the Barmy Article podcast, which is available on all good podcast services, that you get the feeling she could be in a cup final or in the car park with kicking about with some kids, and she'd just be the exact same level of calm. She might damage some kids if she runs around like she does on the pitch, but you always know what you're getting. It's not up for a big game. That is just the level she is consistently at. The level of commitment, the level of desire, and the level of goal threat.
Shane has some technical difficulties. He's now back, modern age and all that. Shane, Rachel Williams coming up. Before I get to you, Shane, I actually was stood next to Charlie, and as Deborah said, Charlie's been Rachel's biggest fan since day one. I said to Charlie about 15 minutes into the game, and it was 0-0. I said to Charlie, Rachel Williams is coming on at this game and scoring the winner. Shane, what were your feelings when Rachel was coming on with you? Then going, oh well, she's going to score the winner for us, or were you like just I don't care who?
I think it was probably Rachel's just two-footed my internet. I think that's why it went off. Yeah. I mean, had she not already done similar in other games where getting a late goal, more notably the Reading game, I think I probably would have been looking at it as well, we're just throwing kitchen sink at the situation. But knowing what she has in her locker, and at that stage of the game, there was always a hope seeing her come on that she's going to do this. Admittedly, I think the nerves and excitement at the time probably don't let me think that clearly that I'm going to bet my house on Rachel Williams scoring the winner at that time. I'm just taking a complete ball in the net. But when you look at it for what it was, there was a very good chance of her doing that.
Zoe, I like to give you the easy questions, obviously. So Mike's put this one in. Rachel better goal scorer than Russo?
Yes, but with a but. I think there was a moment in the Tottenham game where me and Fiona were talking, and there was a chance that, to us, it looked like space opened up for Russo, and she could have taken the shot, and she chose not to. And we sort of had this discussion about trying to get the perfect goal. If you look at Russo's goals, a lot of them are just splendid. You'd just watch them all day if you could. But with Rachel, I feel like she just comes on and gets the goal however you get it, and I just think that she's not looking for the perfect goal, and maybe Russo isn't either, but I do feel like there's a little bit of a hesitancy sometimes with Russo, whereas with Rachel there isn't, and I guess that comes with experience. So for me, I feel like Rachel is the better scorer just because she's not afraid to take on the shot. And not in like a selfish way or anything, because I know in the past previous seasons we've talked about too. Could she have passed here? Is she being selfish with that chance or whatever? I don't think for 1 minute that Rachel is, but I don't think she hesitates in, oh, is it better to pass or play? She just gets it done, and that's why I'd say Williams is slightly better, but that's my opinion.
Andy, agree, disagree?
Yeah, I think now I might contradict myself here a little bit, but I think Russo is too good an all-rounder to be a number 9. You can debate whether we need a number 9 with the goals coming from everywhere like they have done this season. But I think Williams is better at just chasing a goal, but she doesn't then lack in the all-round performance. I think she could play in midfield and do a job. But when you need a goal, with Williams, you feel like she is on there to get a goal. Whereas Russo is her usual self, playing a bit more all-round, interchanging with other forwards. And I think that's the difference. You don't feel like Russo is your source of goals when you need a goal. She should be. That the position she plays and the play she's got around her, who she should be able to trust, she should be. But I think you see Williams and think, that's where our goal is coming from.
Right, I don't think we should put it off anymore. Let's get on to the game on Sunday. It's massive. It's historic. It's for us. It's a day at Wembley. I presume we're all looking forward to it right now. We'll see how we're looking forward to it. Any pre-match nerves for anyone? Just before I know, has anyone got any nerves yet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Shane's.
They're getting there. They'll be in full force on Sunday.
Andy, you just calm and collective about it. A trip to Wembley.
I wouldn't say it's calm and collected, but I would label it as excitement rather than nerves. I think I remember being. Will it have been 94 when United men lost to Villa in the League Cup final? And my dad said to me on the way home, "You'll see a lot of trophies, lad. Don't be upset about this." And I think the way this squad is going, I think we've got that same kind of start point of an era. So I think it's a privilege to be at these games. You know, we've most of us have been there from the Championship season. And while it wasn't quite from the depths of nowhere to the top of the WSL, it was an expected path, but it's still brilliant to be on that journey and go from beating part-time teams 8-9, 12-0 to being a serious squad, still with some of those players from the beginning, and going and battling against the best and competing. So I think it's the privilege to be there. And you know, I find myself at some of these games at Villa away, for example, after that winning goal goes in, just standing there and just looking around and soaking it in, because you know there's a song about it. We have seen it all and won the lot as United fans, not with this team, but we've been blessed, and then we've also seen a fallow period. So I think that gives you a bit of perspective about being excited for the good times, and you know, knowing that they're not all going to be good times, and even with the good times, there's going to be some disappointments. But just the privilege to be at these occasions again and go and enjoy being competitive and fighting these fights.
Shane, I'm right. This is your first time to Wembley, isn't it?
It is.
Mm. Zoe, you've been before?
Nope, first time.
Wow. Andy, I know you've been before.
Yeah, both Wembleys and the Millennium Stadium,
Yeah,
with varying degrees of success.
You see, I said to people, and it's much like what you said, Andy, is that I don't mind losing a semi-final. I hate losing finals. You've gone there, and it is literally the worst. I'm not trying to put a downer on it, but it is literally the worst feeling in the world. You've gone and you've seen your team play, and then it's the occasion sometimes. But I don't think. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. Shane, are you excited to go to Wembley on the day and be a part of the Wembley atmosphere?
Yes, with the caveat that it's because of United. You know, I won't detail too much onto other things that go on at Wembley, obviously. But you know, it doesn't have the attraction of just being Wembley for me. It's Wembley and United are there. That's the attraction. Hopefully one day I'll be fortunate enough to do what you and Andy and many others have and go for a men's cup final there, and hopefully not come away with the severe disappointment of loss that you speak of. But you know, let's ease into it with the Women's FA Cup final. Hopefully a victorious one where we're all there for another half an hour afterwards, if not longer, like we were at the Emirates, and turning it into a party and bus ride back and all that will come with it. You know, we'll have a well-stocked picnic, I'm sure, for that.
Yeah, I mean, Nick's put in the comments, he's more worried about the men's final than this weekend, and he's confident we can do it. I mean, I'm very lucky. I've been to Wembley twice this season so far. I've seen 2 wins. I'd like to go the rest of my 2 times to Wembley and see another 2 wins. I mean, that would just top it off spectacularly. Shane, Fiona's asked, are you looking forward to the DJ and the singers before the game? I'm going to say that's a no.
I'm currently staring at a bin and picturing DJs and things associated with it being in there.
Andy, you're bringing your daughter to her first cup final. Is Sophie looking forward to it? And what have you told her about what to expect for a cup final?
I told her before the semi, I wanted her to know that it wasn't just, guess what, you're going to a final. So I wanted her to know that if we win this, we'll get to go to Wembley, so that she knew it was a prize rather than just, guess what, this is what happens. So she was excited to go through that match and hope for the win with that trip to Wembley at the end of it. So yeah, she's very excited. I can see Deb's mentioning the ribbon. She does. She's been wearing red, black, and white ribbons all this season, and she's got new ribbons for Wembley that have her from writing on to mark the occasion in the absence of ticket stubs, which I've got plenty of, and she's unlikely to have many of over the time. She's got ribbons that she can always look back on. So yeah, she's excited for the trip. She's excited for the people around us. She's excited to cheer on the team and hope to come away with a trophy. And that, that adds a whole new dimension for me as well. I've been there as I went to 6 when I first went to Wembley with my dad in the 1990 replay against Palace, and Sophie's 7 and going to Wembley for the first time. So it just draws parallels that I can look back on and think I get to do all this again from the other side of that relationship.
Zoe, what do you expect for the build-up throughout the day? Obviously, we're leaving Manchester at 7. The coaches are going at 7:30. There's 7 coaches leaving from Old Trafford. And if you go back to even 4 years ago, we probably wouldn't have been able to fill probably 1 or 2. But now we've got 7 full coaches. I mean, the growth has been, huge. Are you really looking forward to the day?
Yeah, I think, I'd sort of like to be stood there filming all those 7 coaches leaving, but knowing I need to be on one of them. So that's not going to happen. But yeah, I think just the whole thing, I'm sort of dreaming about it, but can't actually quite believe it's happening or picture, what it's going to be like, because it's just, obviously I've not been through it with the men. I watched them, but mainly on the telly. So I've not experienced that like you guys have. So for me, it's just like I don't know what it's going to be like, but I just know there's going to be a lot of emotion throughout the day, from the moment we arrive and get on the bus to the moment we get off. When we return to Old Trafford, as you say, hopefully having seen the girls lift the trophy. I think as well, for me, it's just, Sunday really brought it home when we all met up after the game, and just looking around and seeing these people that you've sort of gotten to know through this team and through coming to games over the last 5 years, and being able to say that we're going together, we're going on those buses together. As you say, we've been on away days before, on mini buses and with empty seats, and to think that there's going to be 7 coaches full, it's just incredible. And I'm so happy for the girls as well. A lot of them who we've got to know over the last 5 years as well. It's just going to be so special for them, and to see everyone getting on board and getting behind them is fantastic.
Shane, we need to talk with everyone else about the ticketing part of it, because you and I were involved in sorting a section out. Obviously, it wasn't just you and me, it was the people at the ticket office. The fact that we've sold out our complete allocation, the work that we you and I did along with the ticket office in sorting it all out, and 7 coaches. I mean, we've been on this journey really, with Andy and Zoe from really day one. And as Zoe said, we were going on mini buses with empty seats, and now we're going on full coaches. I mean, the journey's been astronomical. I mean, can you believe it is where we are now?
Yes and no. I mean, I think I go back 4 or 5 years. If you'd have said this is where it will be at, I probably wouldn't have believed you. I'd have probably added another 5-10 years onto that. But obviously, last summer, Euros, England winning it has helped boost the game. Attendances across the league have shot up, so it's no surprise that this is, whilst we'd all like it to be higher, and I'm sure Chelsea fans would as well. Both clubs have got near on 8,000 allocation for the final, where in the past it's probably been lucky to get up to 2,000. So the popularity's there now. It's growing. It will continue to grow. When you think back some of the away trips we've done, we're refreshing away team websites to find out when tickets have gone on sale, and we're looking to scramble to pick an area that will adopt as an away section. We're now at the point where we're going through United and saying, we want an away here, can we get one? Yes, we can, right, and we just buy our tickets like we normally would. It's almost bringing a bit of normality to it. Whereas, the women's game's always felt a bit disparate from the men's, hasn't it? And still is, in various points, but ticketing, we've moved on heaps and bounds, and got to credit the guys in the ticket office that we deal with, obviously, because they've been a massive, massive help for some of the things we've done.
Yeah, and the flags that we put up at LSV, they today have been dropped off at Old Trafford, and they are going to be put up at Wembley in front of our section for us. So we're having the flags there, so the girls are going to see the flags. There's going to be other bits and bobs that the club are going to do. But we don't want to give away all of the secrets beforehand, but there is going to be some things for us all to take part in. Right, let's talk about the game and the lineup if we can. Do you see him, Zoe, making a boatload of changes, or do you see it being the 11 is what it is?
Yeah, I think I don't see there being too many changes. I think you've got to have faith in what we've already done so far this season, and I think you've got to trust in those players that have done such a wonderful job. I know there has been a lot of talk about rotation and maybe more rotation within the side, but I think we've come a long way this season with a pretty solid starting 11, and I think you've got to have faith in them that they'll get the job done.
Andy, obviously I gave Zoe a nice easy one before, so I'm going to give you a nice easy one as well. Does Aoife start or does Millie start?
I think that's one of two areas of the pitch where you'd struggle to pick. I think centre half next to Maya and right wing are the two that you're kind of looking 50-50.
Yeah,
whether it's Garcia or Paris.
Yeah, Shane's getting that question.
So I'd be comfortable with any of them starting next to Maya. I think Aoife showed us what she can still do. We've not seen her for a while, but she came into such a big game such as Arsenal and was a huge contributor to a really hard fought win. But we know what Millie can bring as well. I think the game following Arsenal, we missed Millie's height. We struggled with balls into the box, so they both bring different things. I think it depends what Skinner expects from Chelsea. I think if we're facing crosses, I'd want to see Millie. If we're seeing these balls over the top that we keep getting caught out with, then I'd rather see Aoife. So I'd be comfortable either way. I think it fully depends on what the scouts have picked out as Chelsea's biggest threat.
Shane, guess the question. Lucia or Keats?
Yeah, you're right. It's really difficult. Recency suggests Nikita, but Wembley, bigger pitch, is it more suited to Lucia? We actually haven't played Chelsea on a pitch of that size. I know most pitches are going to be similar, but Wembley is a bigger pitch than Lee, and it's a bigger pitch than Kings Meadow, where the only two grounds that we've obviously played Chelsea at. So Keats has got pace, Lucia's got pace. Either way, there's an advantage there to be had, I think. If I have to pick, I'll pick Keats, for no other reason other than recency.
Now, if people have watched the podcast that we dropped yesterday where Deborah sat down with Keats, she said she's never lost at Wembley. So for me, she starts. That's the first bit. Keats starts because she's never lost at Wembley. Also, as Deborah's put in the comments, we've got another podcast dropping tomorrow with Martha Thomas, and then there's another one coming out on Saturday, but we're not going to give that one away just yet. I suppose the biggest question, is A, if Sam Kerr starts, because she's only on the bench tonight, I think, and Millie Bright. So without those two, maybe, potentially, hopefully, does that give us a bigger chance, Zoe?
Yes. Yeah. I know it's awful to say, but when Kerr went off injured the other day, I did a little dance. I never wish harm on anybody, but if she could just sit this one out, I'd be quite happy. And I know it's not all about one player, but she has a habit of, popping up and scoring goals. So I'd be very happy if she was ruled out. Again, Millie Bright. You know what? I never rated Millie Bright. There was a few England games where she just did not, perform that great. And then obviously in recent times for both club and country, she's been really solid. So I'm hoping that if she does start, then she could revert back to those few dodgy games that I saw her play for England. But yeah, we'll see. I think whoever plays for them, I said earlier today, if football was a fairy tale, United would definitely win, because the way they've played this season, the way the season's gone, the way we've been building for 5 years, it's time for our happily ever after. So I don't care who Chelsea play. I do believe that this team, our team, can go on and win this. So even though I'd be happy if they didn't, I don't fear them. So yeah, let's go win it.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I'm going to speak to Andy about that. And the weather does look good for Sunday. And for those in our section, we are directly in the sun. So suntan lotion, hats, maybe some, fluids to keep you, hydrated at all times. I'm sure there'll be some drinks, some Cokes or something on the coaches or whatever else, but keep yourselves hydrated. Andy,
mortgage to buy them at Wembley.
Yes, yeah. Andy, would you rather Millie Bright and Sam Kerr start, and if we do beat them, then there can be no excuses from Chelsea fans going, well, we didn't have our, two of our potentially best players playing?
I think with the squad they've got, it doesn't really matter who starts anyway. You can talk about injuries, but the players that are coming in, they've not got an 11 and then a second string. They've got a squad. They've maybe got two squads. So I don't think it would be a valid excuse for them. For me, I don't really care. The win's the win. I think if you think Millie Bright's going to play, I think there's a shout. And I did see somebody else say this. I can't remember who, so apologies for repeating without credit, but I fully agree that if Millie Bright is expected to start, I think I'd think about starting Williams against her, because that's the kind of animal of a defender that you're up against, and you want somebody who can battle and negate that. And I think Williams would be that player. I think you look at it that way. What have we got that can combat these players that they've got? And as I said before, Sam Kerr scores with a ball over the top. That tells me you pick Aoife instead of Millie, because I think she's better at dealing with that kind of, the anticipation for that ball coming over, getting the position right, and not necessarily doing the pretty defending, but getting in the way and stopping that kind of attack. So, no, I don't mind who starts, because I think we've got the players and the options to combat whatever they've got.
Sporty's asked, what are the food drink prices like at Wembley? Is it better? Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's ridiculously priced, Wembley. It really is. So beforehand, yeah, is an answer. You see, I would ask Shane about the starting 11 question, but I know his answer now, so I don't even need to. His answer is he doesn't care one jot who starts, as long as we win.
We've got to beat them at some point. We may as well make it this Sunday.
And that's what I've been saying. I absolutely think it's going to be this Sunday. There's something around this squad right now. There's a belief. You know, Shane, you and I were lucky with Debs and Max on Sunday after the game. As we were leaving the pub, we saw the manager coming out, and he just said, "We're relaxed," and I think that's going to help. The one thing, Shane, though, is, do you think that the occasion might get to some of the players who have never played at Wembley before, in front of potentially a 90,000 crowd?
Maybe, and I'd probably be surprised if it didn't. But there are players in our team that have played there, be it with England, be it with other teams in the past. You know, some will have been in FA Cup finals at Wembley. Some will have won the FA Cup in the past too. So I imagine they will be giving off their experience to those that haven't, maybe letting them know what to expect. You know, you're going to walk out, this is going to happen, this is what you're going to see. Teams will obviously always do a walk around of the pitch, won't they, and have a look around the stadium before any fans are in. So I would like to think that with our mentality this season, the big grounds we have played at as well, not just obviously Old Trafford for home games, but we've been to the Emirates there. That was an occasion, you could argue. I'd just like to think their mentality, they won't let it affect them too much. They'll get all of that emotion, if you like, out of the way before they're stepping out for kickoff.
And obviously, you've got all the pre-match hoo-ha, the national anthem. I don't know if I presume they sing "Abide With Me," which is a FA Cup thing that they do. But as Mike's just put in the comments, surely there's more pressure on Chelsea because everyone expects them to win. Andy, would you agree with that?
Yeah. I quite like the underdog status. It does ease the pressure a little bit. But then you look at the players we've got, like Shane said, we've got players that have been in this situation before. We've got league title winners in the squad. We've got FA Cup winners in the squad. We've got Euros winners in the squad. Marc Skinner's been to a FA Cup final before as a manager. There's a lot of experience to learn from, if not to draw from, winning it for all of them. The younger players have got the talent, and the older players know that part of their job is to guide that youth. But yeah, I completely agree with Mike that the pressure is on Chelsea, and that's in both competitions to come. The pressure's on them to win the last 5 games. I mean, they're doing all right tonight. The pressure's on them to win the FA Cup. They've won. This would be the 3rd FA Cup in a row. This would be the 4th league title in a row. The pressure's squarely on them. They potentially, if they slip up in the FA Cup and then struggle to recover from that, they're looking at a potential trophyless season for the first time in a while. You know, they've slipped up in the final of the League Cup. They've slipped up in the semi-final of the Champions League. If we could beat them in this final, they've got the pressure to win it, but then they've got further pressure if they don't win it to then go on and win the league. So yeah, we should be looking at that as well. Again, look at what we can do to them. Beat them for the first time. That's a big psychological blow. Be the underdogs, but fight till the end, because that's what we do now this season. That's a big part of our game.
Zoe, we're going to start to wrap it up. In Hull, we're not going to do score predictions because I'm not that cruel to anyone. Just any feelings about the day, what your hope's going to. We obviously all hope United are going to win, but if the worst happens, are you still going to go, we got to a final? Are you going to look at it that way?
I like to think I would. I hope I would. If you see me crying in my seat afterwards. saying that I hate football, don't be surprised. But yeah, I like to think that even if it doesn't go our way, I want to remember just what a wonderful season we've had. The drama of it all, because I think that's true football, not just the big wins that we've got, even though they've been very nice when we've been winning comfortably. I've also really enjoyed the drama and the belief and the magic of those comeback games and those comeback wins. And so I'd like to think that whatever happens, I'm gonna, come away from there feeling very happy and proud of the team for everything that they've achieved anyway this season so far.
Shane? Well?
Yeah, I think, yes, I'd probably agree with Zoe there. I mean, look, it's cup final, we want to win. If we don't, it will be disappointing. It'll feel raw at the time. And then I'd hope the players would use that as motivation to go back and do it all again next season with winning it. Of course, hope we just win it this weekend and then say, yeah, we like that, let's go and do it again next season. Chelsea have had all the fun lately, so time for someone else to take over. They've just put it there, we're not going for a day out. This is a serious game of football, and if you look at the season as a whole, it's one of 3 cup finals we've got to end the season on, because we've got another 2 big games coming up afterwards, which could dictate what we or others do or don't win. So I'd like to treat all 3 games as a cup final, this being the first, and hopefully a hat-trick of cup final victories, let's say.
Yeah, and I've told certain people, not if it does happen, don't speak to me till at least Birmingham on the way home. I don't want to know people.
Is that just because that's where I get off, or?
No, it's just because it's probably where I would have calmed down from. So I'm just going to get on, put my headphones on, listen to some very, very loud rock music that no one likes but me, just to try and bring it all out of me. Andy, I want to talk quickly about Buy Me Article. Do you want to have a call, tell people what they can get, how they can get involved, where they can buy it from, where we're up to, where you're up to with it?
Yep. At the Spurs game was the release of issue 10, Double Figures. It was May 2021 that I started it, so it's 2 years and 10 issues. My Twitter name is on the screen, or I think it will be when there's no comments on. Get in touch if you want to write for it. If you want to buy it, there's a link tree on my Twitter profile that you can go to and see some coverage of it in the press, where to buy it, some writing about it. There's also a Substack newsletter, which is free and will inform you about the fanzine, but also about other things, whatever I fancy writing about. And there is also an audio podcast on Spotify, which Friday we'll see episode 5 of that, or 6 if you count the little bonus one, the impromptu one on the way home from Villa away. And if you want to get involved in the podcast, it's as simple as sending a WhatsApp voice note and you can hear yourself on Spotify on the Buy My Article podcast. And that is called Buy My Article 15 Minutes of Fanzine, because I know this has been roughly an hour now, but who's got an hour to listen to a podcast? It's 15 minutes, it's bite size, it's concise, it's a bit of fun. I'm playing around with different features, so you'll hear different things, and it might sound daft at times, but it's 15 minutes. It's about United women. Get involved, get yourself heard. It's an audio version of the fanzine. It's not for me to spout all my opinions. It's for any United fan who can put a constructive point across to get involved and put it across.
And on that note, I'm going to end the podcast. I want to say thanks to Andy, Zoe, and Shane. Thanks to everyone who's been in the comments. It's been really enjoyable. We haven't done one, like I said, we haven't done one of these for a while. And as I said at the beginning, we're not back in lockdown, so you're not going to see our faces every single week. And hopefully we'll see as many of you as we can on Sunday, when, fingers crossed, we bring home a bit of silverware. Thanks for watching, guys. See you all Sunday. Take care.